TutorFerst 2025 has been announced and tickets are available to purchase right now. Come and spend the day with us and other tutors for some high quality CPD to help you improve the outcomes for the children, families, and young people you support alongside the growth of your business. We have some high quality speakers on show for you to help inspire you and take that leap to the next phase of your business. This is all powered by Tutor to Thrive, TutorFest 2025, July the 14th. We'll see you there. Tickets are available using the link in the description. Right, welcome everybody. We have another special episode of Grow Your Tutoring Business. We have Vivienne Smith with us, and we were connected about a month ago through somebody I've spoken about quite a bit on the podcast and just in general to people in the Facebook group. Is someone called Nikki Marshall, who I met quite a few years ago and was lucky enough to sit next to her at an event, a business event. And basically, with her guidance on that day or the couple of days we were there, we came up with the plan to create this Facebook group to support tutors. So I'm really thankful to Nikki. And it's a relationship that keeps on giving. We often bump into each other at events and just catch up. And I imagine, Vivienne, that you are quite closely linked to Nikki now with the
I
book.
am.
Often she will send
Absolutely.
me little recommendations, and she linked us together. And I was like, this is absolutely perfect. So welcome, Vivienne.
Thank you very much.
Give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, because I don't really know much about you at all. So I'm going to be learning the first time along with anybody else watching or listening.
No, fair enough. So I would say that I'm someone who has I've been a single mum. I've really worked in lots of different careers, but I've always been drawn to teaching. And I spent about 10 years, 12 years doing TEFL teaching and hosting students, and anything that would fit in with bringing up my kids really. And then in must have been 2019, I bit the bullet and decided I ought to get a proper teaching job. So, age 50, I went and did my PGCE, which some would say was a little bit reckless, maybe foolish. In fact, I started uni at the same time as my youngest son, which was hilarious. We were sending each other kind of good luck for your first day at uni sort of messages. Um, so I was one of the unlucky cohort who went through their training when the pandemic hit. So as you can imagine, that was quite something, not a particularly great thing to have to deal with. I think also my mum had had a terrible fall and she was in hospital. And it was one of those periods of life that I thought was just amazingly stressful. And of course, like everybody, I thought, well, once I start teaching and I have my classroom and and I get my desk and kind of get settled and I meet my students, everything will be great and it'll all settle down. But because of COVID, that didn't really happen. So I remember I got my first job at the school where I'd done my first placement. And it had been an absolute blast there. I really loved the camaraderie in the staff room and things like that. And then they gave me, I think this is quite common for them to do with teachers, but they gave me just a year's contract to start with. I would never do that again. The stress of waiting, are they going to mention it? What's going to happen? And then, of course, when I got there, everyone was masked up. And I remember this kind of dystopian view of my first assembly, I think it was, standing on the sidelines and looking at rows upon rows of children with their masks on. And it was just, we've become so used to it now, but it was an extraordinary sight. And obviously everything changed because everything was at arm's length. Students were in a bubble. We were rushing from one classroom to the next, trying to get, across the different classrooms. So my experience of teaching was quite different to the one I had fondly hoped for. I then went on, and taught somewhere else. And like everybody, I'm sure, who watches your podcast and you yourself, we all love teaching. There's no doubt about that. We love working with young people. It's one of the most rewarding things, apart from being a parent, I'd say one of the most rewarding things you could possibly do. But I think I got to the point where I don't know whether it was starting so late on in life, where you've had experience of other
Mm.
businesses. I ran my own networking business. I've done art classes and all sorts of things. I kind of looked around and thought, this culture is absolutely crazy. How are people putting up with this? The hours and the expectations and the bureaucracy and you know, and I must say that for me, I'm definitely a survivor. And I thought, well, yes, I'm earning a regular income, and yes, I get these holidays, but half the holidays, as you know, are spent recovering from the term, trying to catch up with your marking and planning, and sort of recovering from being on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Because I mean, most of the teachers I knew, that was their life, no life during the week, tiny bit of time at weekends. And then holidays, well, if you're lucky, you might get to go away, maybe. But most people took marking on the plane.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
I just got to the point where I thought, yes, I'm being quite well paid, but I felt that the struggle wasn't, it wasn't worth it. The prize at the end it just wasn't worth
I
it.
think that when you're right when you first started saying about the whole like we all love it, like we went into it because we wanted to make a difference,
Yes,
wanting to be in
absolutely.
front of the class, and we wanted to have like these. I mean, I'm primary school. Were you primary school as well, Vivian?
No, secondary.
Secondary. So for me, it was
I
like
kind of wish I'd gone for primary
oh
because I think
really?
I love working with small, really little people.
Yeah,
And
me too. And I loved the whole little faces looking up at you
yeah,
and
yeah,
reading the story or teaching them. That kind of thing was
yeah.
amazing. But I mean, I've got a question for you here, like around like you run businesses in the past, and so you go
Mhm.
into teaching later, and you say like that steady income and it's well paid. I always felt it was like this weird pay where it wasn't amazing, but it also wasn't
No,
full,
exactly.
and it's like keeps you. It's not even really the sweet spot either. Really, it's below the
No,
sweet spot, but it's just
it
enough.
is.
It's just
It's
enough.
just enough. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think a lot of the work I'd done before was quite seasonal,
Mm,
certainly TEFL teaching. At one stage, I even set up my own little language sort of academy and kind of running, programs for students. But a lot of the time it was seasonal work. So you get to August and you think, so where's the money coming in? Even
right.
with the networking business I ran, I think we didn't meet in August. And there was a lot of kind of continually hustling for new business and getting new members in and getting new visitors and speakers and so for me, it looked like at least a predictable life. But you're right. I mean, the pay is not, of course, if we wanted to be rich, we'd have done something different. We
Absolutely.
get paid in other ways, don't we? We get the job satisfaction, but
You
along with
used
that,
to. You used to.
yes,
I do. I think that's really mean, actually. That's really facetious. Because I you do, and I have full-time teachers come and do tuition here, and they still get that. They still
yeah,
talk about the light bulb moments, and in the same way I would have done when I was teaching full-time. It is there. I just recorded with somebody else earlier on this morning, and she was saying about something similar. Like you do it because you love it and it's busy, the workload's a lot, but actually the thing that really takes it away is the pointless workload, she called it. It's
absolutely, yeah.
and so all those other things, all they do mean a lot because that's what it's about. But actually it ends up sort of sinking away into the background because you've got to do all this other stuff that doesn't make a big difference. So tell us
No,
about
that's
life
right.
after. What happened, Vivian? What happened like so
So
this is quite recent, isn't it?
absolutely, it's quite
Yeah.
recent. So I got to the point where my mum became I'd share care with my two sisters, and we have a carer as well. We kind of manage it between us. But I thought maybe what would work is going part-time, and then I wouldn't be quite so stressed. But I discovered, like lots of people who've gone part-time in teaching, that actually you're doing the same amount of work for half the pay.
Yeah.
So that didn't work really. And then I sort of gradually became aware of the fact that I really wasn't feeling like me anymore. I felt that in order to survive the incredibly rigorous kind of the culture and the expectations, whatever, I would have to become a different person. I remember some of my colleagues saying to me things like, well, once you get to year 4 everything will. And I was thinking, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait years before I'm feeling comfortable and I know the syllabus well enough and I've got all my resources sorted out. That seemed crazy to me. I'm someone that I'm very passionate about what I do, whatever I'm involved in, I really give my all. But I didn't want to be told that I had to wait another 3 years before everything would become normal.
Mm.
And I watched the teachers, working through their lunch breaks, staying late, arriving early, doing the theatre trips, all of this. And I thought, yes, but you might say everything's normal now, but you don't have a life. And I wasn't prepared to give up my whole life. I'm a grandmother of twins as well. And that was all, I wanted to be able to support my family and see my friends and do some creative projects. So
Mm.
for me, I became unhappier and unhappier in terms of this is not really me. I don't think this is what I'm meant to be doing. I knew I was meant to teach in some way. And then in the end, one of the adults that I worked with, she was an autistic there was an autistic kid in the class, and she was an ABA tutor, and it's all about supporting the autistic child and their family to kind of looking at things that perhaps extra goals that they might have, working with them on communication, preparing them for topics, that kind of thing. And I'd got to know this lady really well, and I think she admired my patience with a completely crazy year 8 class. There were all sorts of things going on, as there often are in the classroom. And she said to me, if you ever are thinking about leaving teaching, I'm sure that you would get work as an ABA tutor because of all your experience. I'm an English teacher. And I think there was that. And then someone else was talking about tutoring. And I was talking to a family friend. He tutors. He said he left teaching. He had a nervous breakdown, left teaching. And I was thinking, oh, okay. So I started to sort of see this life outside of teaching. And I decided that, it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't a waste having got my, worked so hard to get my qualification. Actually, I wanted to use it in a different way. And I was confident enough that I'd have the work to keep me going. And I did. So I became an ABA tutor for a little bit. I was supporting a gorgeous little boy in primary school, which is why we were talking about primary school earlier, weren't we? I love working in primary schools. I mean, I'm a secondary school teacher, but I love the primary setting because I'm very arty. So I love, I don't know, painting a woodland scene with them and everyone chooses their animal or whatever. So I really enjoyed that. But at the same time, I thought this is not really, I'm a qualified English teacher. I'm not, I'm probably not using my gifts sufficiently. And I'd started writing by then as well. I was really lucky. I gave a speech at a networking event, and my fellow speaker introduced me to this wonderful lady, Kat Perry, who's director of a centre called Learn with Confidence. And he said, I just think you two should meet, and left us to it. And I found more out about her centre. She'd also left mainstream teaching, and she'd found that there were lots of young people she was being asked to work with who didn't fit into the school setting either. And slowly she built this fantastic centre. So, we always teach one-to-one. It's a great atmosphere. It's kind of open plan. Teachers can do the hours they want, which was key for me because I had other projects that I was, investigating. And it works incredibly well for kids with, multiple needs, autism, ADHD, high anxiety, children who, some of them, they left during COVID and never have gone back. Some do a sort of mixed, they spend some time at school and some time with us. One of the wonderful things is there are no behavior issues whatsoever because the kids are having their needs met. So we work with them in the way that suits them best. And it's an absolute joy. I really love that work. I also teach from home as well. I teach English from home. And I love it because I haven't had to give up teaching. I'm just teaching in a different way. Yeah. And I know that lots of your audience will be, tutors or thinking of tutoring. And tutoring is such a great way to go because, you are the expert and now you can help children to get through their exams. And I'm obviously sort of specializing in GCSE English language. And I take great pride every year in, getting these messages like, yes, we got, 2 grades higher than we thought we were going to. And, thank you so much. And also helping them with their anxiety because, it's a horribly anxious time. Exam time is just awful. And you need to learn some exam techniques. And often they're not really revising or they don't really know what they should be revising at home. So, I really feel that I can use my nurturing skills as well as my teaching skills, in that. And I love it. And then the last thing I do is see, I'm a writer, but I work as an oracy leader for the English Speaking Union. So I still get my classroom fix because there is something about a classroom and kind of lifting the energy and, kind of those light bulb moments we were talking about a little bit earlier. When it comes to oracy, I think the English Speaking Union, they're all about giving children more confidence, giving them their voice, helping them to, be able to construct an argument, and also, the skill of rebuttal and the listening and the whole works. And I love doing that. So that's a couple of times a month I do that. So I get my classroom fix and I get to bounce in there and, they're not doing their normal lessons, so it's quite fun for them. They're a bit nervous, but by the end, they've all done a speech or taken part in a debate or something like that. And then I get to leave. There's no prep. There's no marking afterwards.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's what we want to
Exactly.
do. Definitely do more of that. Okay, so you're
Exactly.
saying about writing, have you always been a writer? Is it something you've always done?
Yes, I think for my own pleasure. And then when I first became a single mum, I'm a great believer in using any kind of adversity as a sort of gift to help other people. So I wrote the Single Mum Survival Guide, when I was a single mum myself, because I looked around and I couldn't find any books, the sort of books that I was looking for. The books around I could find were all about, you must forgive and become friends and move on. And it was much too soon for me to be doing that because it was quite an extreme situation. I
Yeah.
had a 3-week-old and a
Oh,
3-year-old.
wow. Oh my
It was a
God.
little bit early for me to be all like, yes, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. Don't you worry about it. I kind of, so
Mm.
I developed my writing style there, or my kind of format, if you like, which was to interview other single moms and tell my own story.
Mm.
And kind of, they were from all different walks of life. Some had really funny, insights. Some were very sad, but it was all about, right, you're in this situation. There'll be someone in here that you'll really relate to, and you'll be able to gain some inspiration for, how to move on, how to put one step in front of the other and get through this. And with teaching, I've done something sort of similar, really.
Mm.
So I decided that a lot of teachers don't really admit how tough it is.
Mm.
And I wanted to support teachers who were just having a really hard time and wanted to thrive. They didn't want to leave, but they wanted to find a way to actually enjoy it again and kind of reconnect with their purpose. Because, as we were saying earlier on, that can kind of get buried under all the bureaucracy and the admin and and the behavior and everything. So I wanted to support them, but I also wanted to support people who were maybe considering leaving. And I think within the system, it's very difficult to know who you can confide in. In my experience, there's a lot of gossip that goes on. You might say to someone that you're struggling, and then suddenly, I mean, it didn't happen to me, but you might find that you get put on a support plan, or
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It is
Yeah.
not a safe place. Schools do not usually have an HR department, and I feel that there's this whole kind of, I don't know whether it's a stiff upper lip or kind of we're all in this battle together. You're kind of not allowed to say, do you know what? I'm really finding this difficult. And I feel that the book is an outlet for people like that. And also to act as a springboard, maybe they'll come to a decision that has been brewing for a little while.
Mm.
And reading the book will help them to sort of clarify their thoughts, and get to the point where they think, no, actually, I can do this. Here are all these other people who've done it. I'm actually ready to take the plunge, So it's kind of just to support. I mean, it's called Kind Words for Tired Teachers. I think teachers are tired. I think teachers are broken, a lot of them. They're literally stumbling along, waiting for the next half term or the next holiday when they can kind of collapse and try and summon up the energy again and start again.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the years whiz by as a teacher because you live it in these 6 and 7 week blocks, and you
Absolutely.
look forward so much to, oh, I've got a week off, or oh, Easter's next week. You get
So you're
2 weeks.
always wishing your life away, aren't you?
Always, always. I used to say this all the time when I was in school in the staff room. I'd be like, "Oh my God, we're just every time." I'd be like, "There's 2 weeks left." I'd be like, "No,
Yeah.
stop it, stop. We've got to stop it. We can't keep doing it." Like, we used to do 3 years. We're 3 years older than when we first started doing this ages ago.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But
This is
we
not
feel about
healthy.
60 years older, right? Because I don't think teaching is very good for the aging process either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. I'm a big believer in making every day count, and you should as an educator anyway. But I just
Yes.
mean on a personal level, going like looking forward 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks, and going,
Yeah.
I can't wait to get there. And then what do you miss along the way? Like you
Oh,
said,
absolutely. Yeah. And things like my friends, when I made the decision to come out of teaching, and I remember going out to this book club or something like that, because normally I'd miss it because I'd be like, no, I can't. I've got to do this marking, and one of them said to me, oh, it's so nice to see you back to your old self again. Because as you can tell, I'm a very cheerful person. I'm a very naturally happy person. And I'd lost that. I'd become very drawn and kind of stressed and anxious. And I don't think there's much point. If you can't be your best self when you're teaching, then it's not good for you or the kids. It's I think we've got to impart that joy of learning, haven't we? And the kind of the calmness and the confidence and everything that we can help to role model for the kids. And I think that now I feel I can do that again. I had the odd moments where I felt I'd really made a difference, but so much of it was reacting to behavior, dealing with and of course that's part of a teacher's job, but I do think it takes its toll. And I think that unless you've been a teacher, I think people just have no idea what it's like.
do you
Yeah.
think, Vivian, as well, like your experience before becoming a teacher is really supportive? I've got a really quick story about this. Man, before I was a teacher, I worked in public services. I worked for the KCC, County Council, and I was just telling you about that because you're
Mm.
talking about that the Kent boundary between Kent
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
and Sussex. In that area, there was a school, it's called a place called Lamberhurst, which you might know
Mm.
quite close. It's
I have
Lamberhurst.
heard of it. Yeah.
Yes, and a lovely like village school, very rural. Everything,
Yeah.
everywhere I worked in that area was super rural. It was the rural setting.
Yeah.
But the head teacher there was just phenomenal. And I was one of my last meetings with her. I was like, I said, I can't quite place why. Like I know what you do here is absolutely fantastic. And
Yeah.
I was sort of overseeing about 15 schools in that little partnership. I said, there's just something different here, and I don't know what it is. And she was like, oh, well, and she started going into her background, which was quite a high level British Airways. And so she had this
Oh, okay.
career before
Yes.
was working with people, lead proper what I would call true leadership, had true
Yes.
leadership skills. And I was like, okay, I get it. Because you've got these experiences at this corporate level, and obviously you were good at it, and you're bringing in that skill into this setting, and then you're using it to your advantage, and you're creating this amazing
Yes.
space. And when I won't name the school, but there was another school, and the head teacher had been a teacher and then a head teacher for about 40 years, had enough. Like, I mean, was
Yeah.
really hard. Like, and I just mean that in every sense. Like, he was
Yeah.
hard to work with, but also the opinions was very harsh and very,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it was really strange. And I kind of compared the two, and I know it's a very narrow view, but I've worked in schools for 20, it's over 22 years. My experience has been those who bring outside experiences in either tend to improve the situation or go, this is strange. I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
This is not real life. What are we doing?
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. And I was certainly hoping to bring some of my other skills and whatever into it. And I did try, I remember because I've also done all sorts of weird and wonderful things. When I was doing the business networking, I was the business presenter on a not-for-profit radio station down in Brighton. So I thought, great, I can set up. They had all this equipment that they weren't using. I thought, great, we can do it. We can start a podcast. We can do that. Do you know, with the best will in the world, it was really hard to get it going because everyone's so exhausted by the end of the day, and I had this idea that I'd be interviewing teachers about their backgrounds and kind of, and why they love their subject, stuff like that. And the kids would get involved. And, so I did try really hard to bring in some of my other knowledge as well. But I think it's hard because it's all so prescriptive, and I agree with you. I think if you've had a life elsewhere that you can, sometimes teachers become, I suppose it's a little bit like institutionalized, they've just known this life, this is the life. And one of the schools I worked in, they'd all gone to school there as well. So they'd gone to school there, they'd gone to uni there, but they'd come back and sometimes, their colleague would be their old teacher or whatever. And then they get kept in touch with everybody and they looked at old students on Facebook and what were they doing now. And I found that quite strange. It's like, but life has to move on, how about all the outside that, it was so much, well, it's always been done like this, or this is the kind of person I am because I went to this school. And that I didn't like that. I felt that, it was maybe missing out on some fresh ideas and some fresh energy.
Yeah, I
So
think that's
yeah.
it. That's it. I don't think that's well, really harsh again, maybe, but not. It's not welcome in some places. In others, it might be,
But it
and
can get a bit cliquey and
yeah, yeah,
particularly in the staff room as well, if, oh,
mm,
well, these teachers all known each other and do you know what
mm,
I mean? It's kind of quite a strange thing coming in. For me, of course, because of my age, everyone thought, oh, I must have been teaching for years. And in fact, I remember my son saying to me, "Don't worry, Mum, because the kids will think you're really experienced."
mm,
Thanks very
yeah.
much, and
Instant
that
respect.
helps in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So after, I suppose my next question you might have already answered actually, Vivienne, but so you've been writing and it was something that you've been developing that skill. You'd already done it a few times,
Mhm, mhm.
doing it for pleasure and that kind of using it I suppose a creative release. So then you
Yes.
leave teaching, you're doing all these other things that sound absolutely amazing. When did the idea for the book actually come to fruition? So you must have had the idea and then,
I think this idea has been pushing, just niggling away. And I think it was whilst I was teaching, I was thinking one of the things I thought would be fun to do would be to do like a sort of teaching tales. And I did get some of the teachers to tell me some brilliant stories actually.
like,
Because I think that's the other thing. Teachers have great stories, so maybe teaching tales will come out at some point. But
I
then
want to get involved. I've got a great story to share, Vivian, as long as it's
good.
anonymous.
Let's do it. Let's do
Fine,
it. Yeah, it
yeah.
can be anonymous. That's the whole thing. And in
Brilliant.
fact, all the teachers in the book, they've got I've just done them as initials so that I wanted them to be able to speak freely. And that's what I did with my single mum's book, because you're always, oh well, who's going to be watching, who's going to be reading, whatever. Um, so I think it was brewing for quite a while. And then I decided to go on a writing course. And this is how I met Nikki, the publisher we were talking about. I decided to go on a writing course because I thought, well, how about this time, learning some stuff from somebody who's been very successful commercially. And so I went on a course called the Published Expert, which is run by Shah Wasmond, who's an amazing entrepreneur and has got about 5 bestsellers under her belt, and that was brilliant, largely because of meeting other authors who were very passionate about what they did, from all range of different businesses and mostly entrepreneurs. And we had these group calls and we kept each other accountable, and there was a writing coach, and but there's this great impetus. And so I started the book in February last year, and it was out on Amazon by December in time for Christmas. So I think that really helped me kind of, keep the pace going. Obviously, it was tough because I was still doing my own work as well. So, but at least this time I was doing it for my own joy and my own purpose rather than
Yeah.
because, the year 11 mocks had to be marked. So it was a slightly different feeling. Yes, I was still perhaps up far too late and again, getting up far too early. But there's this momentum that builds and you think, no, I've got to get it done. I've just got a bit more editing to do. Took a while. The editing took a while because I had long conversations with teachers, and teachers are all excellent at talking, aren't they? All of them. And then I had to try and narrow it down and think, well, what is their key message, and take out all the fillers and the ums and then get to the point where does that fit in and thread? So it was brilliant. I loved doing it. And then Nikki, this fantastic publisher, I was introduced to her through this course. And when I spoke to her, I thought, yep, she really gets it. And it was lovely working with her, actually, because she was excited as I was at various stages. So I remember she was working in Spain, and I was up. I was just reading, and I got this email through, and it said, "Your book, Scott." Look, she was telling me the progress on Amazon, and it as shortly after it was released, after it was published, it got to #1 bestseller in two separate rankings on Amazon. And then it was on their hot new releases list as well. And honestly, she was just as excited as I was. And it was amazing. I sat and looked, and my book was at that, because they change all the time, all the rankings change all the time. But at that stage, it was on the same list as The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari and Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that was just a moment of pure joy for me. I just thought, I'm going to get this book, this message out to all these tired teachers. And it's actually happening, which is fabulous.
It's great. And let's keep pushing it because there's so many. They need this. They need
it. I really do. I feel it's my mission. I'm going to end up by coaching them as well. I hope a lot of these, the people that read my book, because sometimes people just need to tell their story, and they need someone who knows enough about what they do, but doesn't have any agenda at all other than to be helpful. Because, I'm sure you've had this yourself. Anytime you want to make a big move in your life, everybody, however much they love you or support you, they have their own agenda. How's life going to change if you do this differently? Or, and so I wanted to be like a friendly guide and kind of advisor, but someone who just acts as a listening ear as well as anything else, and just encourages them and thinks, right, holds them to account. Okay, well, we've got to come up with an action plan for you. How are you going to change life in school? And, whether people want to stay in teaching, but actually just need a bit more help to thrive. Because I think there are lots of teachers who, and maybe if I'd been younger, I would have taken that route and just thought, no, I can wait another 4 years until I'm comfortable with the curriculum. I know all my, I've got all my resources or whatever. Yeah. But I think, there are some teachers who just want to enjoy it more, to remember why on a daily basis, why they started teaching, and they're kind of regain their passion. But I think there are lots of teachers who are, quite frankly, wanting to leave, but they don't know if there's really life after teaching. I mean, obviously you are proof that there is. And, all the teachers, the ex-teachers, the tutors that you work with. But I think there are a lot of people just sitting there thinking, oh, I don't know, when's the time? Oh, well, I'll wait till,
perfect time.
Easter. Or I know with me, I had a group of, when I first met them, they were year 10s, and I loved them so much. I wanted to stay there and help them get through their exam. There's always going to be something, isn't there?
Always.
And
always.
Sometimes you just need a push and think, well, yes, but you're not irreplaceable. There's someone else will be able to help them. And maybe what you need to do is something different. for me, I feel I'm helping far more people with what I'm doing now.
Mm.
And I hope that I'm still motivating and inspiring students, but also helping teachers to kind of get that sparkle back because it's such an important job. And I think there are other ways to teach. You know, you don't have to be in mainstream teaching. So
Great.
it's kind of these are broken teachers. There are a lot of them around. And, you know, how can we fix them? Is it that they need to change schools? Do they need to just, you know, work on what's happening for them where they are and maybe just a few hacks or a few different ways of looking at things. I mean, hours are particularly, you know, one of them. A lot of the teachers in the book gave advice about, you know, not working all the hours because you don't owe the school your soul, you know.
Mm.
You can do the job in a shorter amount of time and actually say, no, I'm sorry, I haven't got on with that project because, you know, I don't have any more available time. Or you could say no to organizing this particular trip or whatever. But I think it's hard to do that when you're in the middle of it, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're all everything you just said, they're all such a common like thread between our community and the tuition community and those who are in that community who aren't even tutoring yet, those who are just thinking, is this right for me?
yes,
And waiting for either the right time or the ask being able to ask the right question in the right way so they kind of get a little bit of reassurance. And that's kind of the key thing. If you're at that teacher stage and you're not sure, it's knowing that you can you can find reassurance and that
absolutely.
there are ways forward. It sounds amazing. The best place to buy is Amazon.
Amazon, yes, absolutely.
What we'll do,
It
Vivian, we'll
has
make
now
sure we share the
gone.
links. Sorry, Vivian, go on.
It has now gone to apparently Nikki and her partner from Discover Your Bounce have sent it to the library, the British Library. So it might be coming out in libraries. It could come out in bookshops as well, but I've only just started promoting it really. So
Okay.
Amazon is the best place to find it.
Yeah.
And it's Kindle as well. So I like an actual book, but there are Kindle. There is a Kindle, and soon to be an audiobook as well because I'm just about to record
You? Are
the
you
audiobook.
your voice?
I'm gonna do the voiceover. One of my past, you know, I told you I'd had lots of careers. One of
Yeah.
my past careers was when I was a single mum. I just, you know, was looking for things I could do quickly to just earn a little bit of extra money. And I went on to Fiverr, and I was a voiceover artist on Fiverr. So,
Amazing.
but well, I'll just do this voiceover then, and that would be fun. It would be, you know, another thing to tick off the bucket list
Yeah.
because
What did you voice
you know
over, Ian? What was it?
oh, I all sorts of things. My best, the one that impressed my kids the most was I was the voice of some galactic commander in a video game, you know,
Wow.
Starship, and I was Commander. I don't know what she was, but it was hilarious. I had to say
Okay.
things like "roll," you know,
Oh, it's
because I like
amazing.
that.
Oh, that's really impressed me. I love stuff like that. That's so good. See, there's life after teaching. Be voiceover.
Absolutely,
Time. Yeah.
absolutely.
Vivian, thank you so much. I know that you've got to go to another meeting.
I do.
I really appreciate the fact that Nikki's connected us. Let's
Oh,
stay
me too.
connected.
Isn't it great? Yeah,
Amazing. Yeah, let's stay connected.
absolutely.
Also, networking. We've started doing networking within Tutors Who Thrive. So we've been
Okay.
traveling around the country. We've like Manchester. We was in York last week. We're in London tomorrow.
Yeah.
It would be great if at some point we'd invite you to one and you can come and
I'd
speak.
happily come and speak,
Okay.
you know, or just be around and chat to people.
Be
And
amazing.
I think it's just great to know that other people have done it and they're doing okay. And I can't tell you how great life is after teaching when you get to design your own destiny and you're not, you know, at the mercy of other people. I just want to say to people, if you're thinking about becoming a tutor or thinking about doing something else, please think a little bit harder about it. It will not be the end of the world. And I think you can always go back to teaching if you want to. You still have your qualification.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, why not explore other options? Because I feel that you'll be a lot happier and more fulfilled if you do, if that's how you're feeling. If you
Um,
are feeling broken, you know, and tired, which I think so
I
many teachers are.
I agree. And we'll leave it there. Vivienne, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Lovely to meet you.
Bye.